Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Megan2Mars. I have with me again Amy.
Hi.
Welcome, Amy. So, today we're doing another 5 things that you didn't necessarily know were from the space industry. So, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with LASIK. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
LASIK is amazing. It's based on
Yeah.
the technology used to dock two spacecraft together. It's
Yeah.
so much fun. Now, what
So
do you
it's
know about it?
basically we're able to detect the motion of the eyes. So we're able to detect it at about 4,000 times per second with
That's a lot of times per second.
accuracy. So before, when they would do eye surgeries, they used to have to, if they got any of those motions wrong or couldn't predict them, they would have to restart the surgery. So now they're
You'd
able to
run out of
predict it.
cornea at some point, right?
Yeah. So this way is much more accurate. So now people who need vision correction surgery can get that much more easily.
Yeah, now it's a quick outpatient procedure. You can get it done in an
Yeah.
afternoon and then have to wear stuff over your eyes for days. I had one friend who got it done and he was wearing sunglasses for days. He's a computer programmer. So
Yeah.
he was wearing dark glasses for several days because he didn't want to damage them.
It's
Because
pretty
they
cool that
are,
that same technology is used to help us dock our
yes.
vehicles.
So, do you know what it was developed for?
What was that?
The Apollo program.
Yeah.
Um,
Apollo
well, it was developed to get to the goal of going to Apollo. I love the
program.
Saturn V. That's an awesome model that you have. Um, one of the things that we needed to be able to do in order to do extraterrestrial uh, travel, including the moon, was we needed to dock. We couldn't
Yeah.
send up a single ship that had everything for the journey there, landing, back, all that. So we had to early on show we could dock things together, connect
Yeah.
two spacecraft together. Um, so the originally it was a very manual process, but they eventually developed some really nifty technology that allowed them to do it much easier. But in the Apollo program, you had a lot of times you needed to dock. I mean, you
Yeah.
launched the Saturn V. I mean, if you look at the payload manifest of a Saturn V, you have huge fuel tanks, yes, but you also have the lunar lander, you have the command module, you have the thing. What's the one called that they ride in there and back?
The command module, and then there's also the service module.
Service module. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Service module. So you have
That'd be this little
the
piece right.
service. You have the in the rocket. Yeah, hold your rocket up. So
Yeah.
you have the lunar lander at the in the middle.
That'd
So
be right here.
right there. Um, then you have the service module with the
Yep. Right here.
command module.
And then the command module is this tiny little piece up top. And then this is the
Yeah.
launch escape system.
That is the launch escape system. So what happened was they would go up into space and the bottom, the top of the lunar module and the bottom of the service module were right up against each other. And you needed to dock the top part of the command module to the lunar module. So what would happen is they would separate and then they would turn around and dock so that they could then make their journey to the moon. And then, of course, the lunar lander would go down and part of it would come back up. And then it would come back, and then the command module would separate from the service module and the lunar portion that was still there, and it would re-enter the atmosphere. It was really, really cool. But we had to do a lot of docking.
Yeah, definitely a lot of docking.
Cool story about the docking mechanism, especially the electronic system. So the Apollo Soyuz program, the first real international cooperation in space between the then USSR, so Russia, and the United States. The Soyuz capsule, which is what the cosmonauts would go up into space in, and the Apollo capsule, which is what U.S. astronauts were going up in,
Yeah.
they would dock. They docked, and did the first handshake in space. I have some really cool pins from it somewhere. I don't remember where I put them. But neither the Russians nor the U.S. wanted to, when they did that docking, be the female part of the docking mechanism, because traditionally you have a male and female portion of the docking mechanism, and neither one wanted to, so they created the universal docking system that we use today on the International Space Station, and that the program was developed to work with.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So
it's funny that neither of them wanted to be the female portion.
What can you say? It was the middle of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where it was in the Cold War. It was during the Cold War. So, yeah, tense time.
Yeah.
Really, really tense time. So that's LASIK. Your eye surgery.
Yeah.
Same program, type technology that's used to dock spacecraft together. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So speaking of eyes, next portion that we were going to talk about was scratch-resistant lenses.
Yes. So scratch-resistant lenses. Yes. Nice.
I know I'm grateful for mine. Because otherwise,
so is every parent of every child that needs glasses, because they all scratch. Even the scratch-resistant ones eventually scratch.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more.
Yeah, because I know getting a scratch on them is never fun.
Oh, no.
So they were initially developed for protecting space equipment from getting scratched up while they're in space.
Especially the visors, right?
Yeah.
And the windows in like the shuttles and in the capsules.
Those are very important. You get a little scratch and that could definitely cause some problems.
It definitely could, especially like in the visors of the spacesuits.
Yeah. You have to be able to see really well.
You do. You do have to be able to see really well. You know how they have the gold one that comes down?
Yeah. The gold.
Yes. So it's a really thin plating of gold that you can see through, but it's on the scratch-resistant material.
Yeah. And that gold is, what does it do?
So it filters the light and it reflects a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of the radiation. So it's both for thermal control, which we can jump down to another one we have, which is the space blanket, which is thermal control.
Yeah.
And it has a gold plating too. Because the space blankets, they reflect a whole bunch of radiation, but they also trap infrared radiation inside it, which
we used a lot of that on the equipment for the space program. So like the lunar lander, you can see that gold plating here.
It's wearing a space blanket.
Yeah.
What it does is that gold shed when the sunlight hits it, and it's like 400 degrees or something. I forget the Fahrenheit. It's 200 and something Celsius. But it's really hot in the sun. In direct sun, you get tons and tons of energy, and it gets way, way, way too hot. However, on the flip side, when you're exposing to the blackness and emptiness of space, so if you're not facing the Earth or sun, it's really, 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 really cold. So you need to be able to contain that thermal energy. So the space blanket does both. It reflects out, so it prevents you from absorbing energy, but it also traps the heat of what's inside it inside.
Yeah. That's why we use them on things like in our cars for emergencies or camping, because if you're trapped somewhere, you can wrap it around you and keep yourself warm.
What it does is it keeps the energy from dissipating into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Though if you are trapped and you're cold, it's best to keep your head covered in some way, as well as your feet and hands, because your extremities, especially your head, sheds a lot of heat. So just putting like a hat on, or putting the space blanket over your head and going like this could help. Because you don't want to get too cold. But you also need to keep your core protected. So
Yeah.
your core body heat needs to be protected. So putting it over your head and shoulders, or if you're smaller, you can fit more of you under it. But especially your head and shoulders, because you want to protect your heart, your thoracic cavity, and you want to protect your head.
Yeah. Very cool.
Space blankets are amazing. We use them on all of the cool spacecraft because they need it for thermal protection. Same reason we use them, but they just use them in a much more extreme environment. Also, they use them a lot longer. Yes, I love that model with all the cool toys.
Yeah, I like to collect them.
I move too much to collect lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I have lots of digital stuff, lots of pictures.
That's cool.
But not a whole lot of actual memorabilia that travels with me. So let's continue with our theme of eyes from earlier and talk about cameras.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure most of you guys have, one of these, right?
Pretty much.
And they all have cameras on them now.
They do. Those are cameras on the chip. So basically, the microprocessor that processes the image is also what receives the image directly. It's really cool technology. It's developed at JPL.
Yeah.
It's developed at JPL because they needed a better camera for space.
Yeah, especially for like those little satellites that they're sending up. We still need to be able to see really well.
What are the two biggest concerns we have with spacecraft in terms of when we were determining a launch system to put on the spacecraft? Do you know?
I don't know if I know off the top of my head.
Okay, mass
and
energy.
Mass and energy. Yep, you're right.
Because you have a limited amount of battery and solar power, so you have to conserve it. But the other part is, mass. It costs what?
$10,000 per pound.
I think it's 10,000 a kilo, which is like 1.5 pounds.
That's a lot of money.
I think SpaceX offers a special for as low as 5K. I heard for commercial spacecraft providers. I think that's on their reused.
Yeah.
So after the Dragon has been launched and come back, and the refurbished ones. I think that's on the refurbished ones. Don't quote me on it. I don't remember. But I did hear they're going as low as 5K per kilo, which is ridiculously low.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
But we need to get it down another 5 times before it starts becoming commercially viable to regularly send humans into space for commerce.
Yeah. Definitely. So
at
least we've got those cameras pretty
right,
decent.
we were talking about cameras. we lost track. That's okay. We're back. Cameras. I love cameras.
Me too.
I take lots and lots of pictures.
Well, I might have about like 10,000 pictures on here.
So mine don't all fit on my phone anymore, so I upload them to Dropbox. I have my phone set to automatically upload all of my photos and videos to Dropbox. I have to pay for the 1 terabyte of data per year.
Wow.
Between that and my computer modeling, I think I'm going to run out of space soon.
Uh-oh.
Which means I'll actually have to go through and sort my photos. I have a lot of photos.
Yeah, me too.
Ever since I had the original iPhone, I've taken thousands of digital photos. I got that when I had my first job. I was like, I have decided which phone I'm going to get. And I knew what I was going to get until they handed me an iPhone to play with. And then I completely changed my mind and said, this is so much fun and easier. I'm doing this one.
But isn't it awesome that you have NASA technology right in your hands?
The iPhone, or most smartphones, are GPS enabled. So that's a second set of, space technology. That one's provided by the Air Force. Okay. Off track again. Let's
Yeah.
see what else is on our list of 5 things for today.
Uh,
Let's change gears.
gears. Yes.
Tires.
Tires.
So Goodyear is 1970s,
Yeah.
was working on developing materials for the Viking Martian landers. Now, Mars, I love everything to do with Mars. I read the Viking lander reports. Yes, I used them in my undergrad thesis paper.
Cool. But wasn't that they developed like material that was 5 times stronger than steel?
Yes, they did. They developed a material that was really, really strong, and it needed to be because what they did was it inflated and surrounded and protected the lander, and it bounced. Boing, 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 boing. It looks like the weirdest bouncy ball ever because there's a bunch of these balloon things all around it. And then once it stopped bouncing, they deflated, leaving the lander. And the landers were designed to right themselves, so it didn't matter which orientation they ended up in, they could right themselves.
So that durable material then was Goodyear realized that that could be really great for our tires.
Yeah, so they used it for the threads. I don't know how many. I really don't know. I really don't know how many miles it added exactly today, but it was over 10,000 miles at the time. This is back in the 70s, so it's part of everybody's tires by this point.
Yeah.
But no, Goodyear
still
developed
that technology is still used in the tires.
It's still used, and most people don't think of of space when they see their tires.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Well, unless you're talking about the Tesla that was sent into space.
Well, there is that. I mean, you hear Tesla, you think Elon Musk, you think Mars.
Yeah.
Well, actually, most people think rockets, but his goal is to retire to Mars or something like that. So
yeah,
I heard they've got this huge picture of Mars in their atrium at SpaceX.
Yeah. Hey, I would retire to Mars if I could.
I'm going to Mars.
Yes.
One way or another.
You get there.
All right, so we've covered 5 things. Basic, scratch-resistant lenses, space blankets, smartphone cameras, and tires.
Tires.
So that's good for today.
They all fit together.
That they do. That they do. They're all connected to space, therefore they belong together.
Yes. Awesome.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. We'll sign off for today. Thank you, everyone. Like and subscribe. Bye.